and welcome back to my sewing room. I am Marie of Historical Belle, and today I am trying to make men's breeches. Ta-da! I've never done this before. I'm really trying to put together an 18th century outfit for my husband from the late 18th century. I got this pattern from Mill Farms. I got it off of the Burnley and Trowbridge site. It's for man's breeches from 1770 to 1800, and I need to cut out the pattern itself and then sew the breeches. Today is Tuesday, and I need them for an event on Saturday. Last week, I finished his coat that he could wear to Outlander Ball, and thankfully the museum where I worked at the time, because I started a new job literally 2 days ago. Woo! That's been a whole very fun time. But yes, the Outlander Ball was actually my last day at the History Center, and now I'm working at an Environmental and Heritage Center, which is, well, that's my main working location. I also have 8 other historic sites that I get to do things with, so very, very excited. We'll talk about that maybe more a little later. But right now we really have to focus on the breeches because I no longer have access to the waistcoat and breeches that he wore on Saturday, so he needs some new ones. Now he does have a waistcoat that I had made him. Lucky, what are you doing? Lucky, don't you want to be on camera? He does have a waistcoat that I already made him, so he can wear that one, but he does not have breeches. He has nothing to wear on his lower half from this century. So we need to work on that, and we need to do it quick, which I'm concerned that because I have never made breeches, this will be slightly confusing. I also only have 10 of the buttons that I need because I'm trying to make a whole matching suit. Lucky. I also only have 10 of the buttons that I need that coordinate with the jacket. So I might have to order some more from Burnley and Trowbridge really quick. They were really, really fast at sending me buttons last time, so I really hope that they're fast at sending them this time. But if not, well, I have at least 10 to start with. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Let's get to work on this.
This is my first time ever using a Mill Farm patterns, and I'm interested to see how it goes, but I really liked how the pattern was laid out. It was easy to cut out. The weight of the pattern paper had a good heft to it. I never like it when it's too thin. Sometimes when you're working with those tissue paper patterns, they feel like they're just going to dissolve in your hands, but this one, no, quite hefty. I then used the blue linen, the dark blue linen that I had used for the coat. I had gotten enough of the dark blue linen to make the coat, breeches, and waistcoat because I would like to have them all matching, as that was called a ditto suit in the 18th century and was very popular at the time. Now here I am sewing what I thought was the front fall flap of the breeches, and well, it was very confusing.
So these instructions are a wee bit confusing. I spent a long time reading them last night, and I'm still not completely sure if I'm doing everything correctly. Because I sewed from B to C like it said, I thought it said to, but then don't cut this yet, but then it's telling me to do this, and it makes more sense if I put the front fall lining on. I can't really do that easily without going ahead and cutting this. Like, I think it would be easier to have that done, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And I'm not completely sure if I am, because like, look right now, like, it's like, it said press open the center front seam. Okay, like how? There's like this whole little tail back here. So I think I'm supposed to, instead of where I sewed to B, which was down here, I need to snip that, and then this part will be fine. And then I'll put this part on. That's what I think needs to happen. But yeah, I've never made breeches before, and the instructions are a little confusing for someone who's never made breeches, because I'm like, what piece are we talking about? Because there's also right front fall lining, and then also right front flap, which, I don't know, to me that's a wee bit confusing, but there's also this very helpful picture at the back of everything, and basically I'm just going off that. Stared at that for a long time last night. So that's where I'm at for that. You know what? I'm just going to use my best judgment, and I think it'll be okay. It'll be okay. So let's go ahead. I'm going to snip. Ooh, I can actually see where I used a very good matching thread. Okay. There. Okay. Oh, that doesn't feel right. Okay. Why do they have me do that? Okay, well I guess I need to seam rip this part too. You know, sometimes when you are making things, just put a picture of it in there. I will back figure it for you. It'll be okay. You just have like a very detailed and labeled picture. Oh, for the love. Okay. Great. I need to seam rip this part too. I do not understand. I really felt like I was like, yes, this doesn't make sense, but I'll follow the directions and it'll magically work. And that is not what I feel like happened right now. B to C. B is here and C is here. If I go hem from B to C and I sew from B to C, I sewed all the way around. I sewed these two together. But apparently I'm only supposed to sew it together here and not from here to here. I'm just supposed to like sew. That does not make sense. That is literally what it says right here. Oh, front fall lining seams from B to C. Okay, and that's B to C. But why do I need to hem it to there? And only there. Unless it's supposed to go all the way around this way. Also, arrows. Arrows would be helpful, because am I supposed to sew it from B to C that way, or am I supposed to sew it B all the way around to C, leaving that one open? It does not say. Okay, I will take credit and blame for the whole B to C situation on this. That is my bad. I've sewed B to C on the wrong piece. But that is sometimes hard to figure out exactly what's happening. You know what? I think I'm just not going to pay attention to the directions. I'm just not. It'll be fine. I'm just not going to do it. Okay. Now we have a front flap. This makes sense. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to put the lining part here. So I'm going to sew from B all the way around to center front to C, and then this goes right here on the front. That makes sense. See how that fits together? Ta-da. Okay. Okay, then we're going to hem this part because it's not going to be attached. That makes sense. We're going to do that. Good gracious.
Now, kind of having figured out what was going on with the lining and the front flap and the front fall flap lining, I went ahead and I sewed the lining together and then attached the lining to the front panel of the breeches. Am I sure I did this 100% correctly? No. But did it work? Yes. Now, as you are seeing, I am using a sewing machine. This is not a historically accurate invention to the 18th century. All of this should be done by hand if I'm doing it historically accurately, but I do not have time for that. Some of the finishes will be done by hand, but otherwise we are going to use a machine. Now, here is the right front flap, which is again different from all the other lining flaps, but these go on the side to kind of keep the breeches together and not gapping when you have the front flap, well, fall down. So I'm going to go ahead and attach those to the sides of the breeches, and then I'm going to add the pockets. So the pocket lining kind of goes over the top and it'll hide all of those seams and kind of give it a nice finish on the inside. But the interesting thing is, again, which I'm not sure if I did completely correctly or not, but I stitched the top there with the machine and I left the end free, so when I flipped it inside out, I could then put the actual lining of the pocket. So that's just like the lining that would create the base of the pocket, and then I attached, well, the other side of the pocket, so well, you can actually like stick things down in it and not just have a flap. But of course I had to turn the lining inside out before I attached the back of the pocket. I was very happy with how this hid a lot of the seams that were going on in the front here, because there just seemed to be so much going on in the front of these breeches that I'm glad not all of the seams are seen and some of them can be hidden. Now with this pocket here, the way that it needs to be attached, I hand sewed this together because trying to do a machine on all of that was not going to work. So I machined what I could on the bottom half, and then I sewed the front part by hand because, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I am on quite the time crunch with this breeches making, and we're going to need all the time that we can get. I really like this little part here on the bottom of the breeches. This is the back side. There's this little flap that you turned in because that's where the breeches are going to open with the buttons, or at least I'm going to use buttons. And you need to have that side finished right there, where otherwise you wouldn't really have a finished edge. They gave you a way to finish it, and I like that a whole lot. I then sewed up the back rear end of the breeches. They are nice and full back there. There is even a triangular gore that goes right in the middle of the back waistband, which provides even more room in there for the derriere. The waistband will then go to where the gore is and then lace up the back. Now it is time to attach the front of the breeches to the back of the breeches. Am I sure I did this right either? No, not completely, but they are wearable by the end of this. So here we are. Some pants that I've seen, you sew the legs together and then you sew up the crotch, but because of the weird fall front flap thing in the front of this one, I decided to do it this way. It works. Is it the way you're supposed to do it? I don't know. Am I recommending it? Maybe. It worked. It wasn't bad. Trying to line up the crotch seams just right though was a little hard. Now here we have the best sewing supervisor in the world, little Miss Lucky. She really likes the dark blue fabric, especially the dark blue linen here. So here I pinned together the waistband, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew the front part of the waistband to the back part of the waistband, so then I can go ahead and I can attach it to the top of our breeches here. Now, like I said, the back of these breeches are indeed huge, so they need to be gathered into the waistband. The front of the waistband, though, is going to go on flat. And I'm just kind of sandwiching it in here, turning all of the raw edges under and then pinning it together, and I'm going to top stitch it to where it will indeed be attached to the top of the breeches. Now here the waistband kind of goes, it has a little bit extra because it doesn't go all the way across. It kind of meets in the middle where the top of the breech flap comes up. Now I tried sewing this on my sewing machine and somehow I ended up breaking my needle, which is kind of an accomplishment within itself. So I went ahead and I did a little bit of this by hand, especially because this is some top stitching that's going to be seen very readily at the waistline most likely. So I went ahead and sewed that by hand, and then I went ahead and I marked where all of the buttons are going to go. Now I decided I had these black fabric colored buttons that I had used on another 18th century project before, and I thought, you know what, I have enough of these to go on the top half of these breeches, and the top half of the breeches really aren't going to be seen if you're wearing the waistcoat and the coat. So I went ahead and I used those black fabric colored buttons for the top. I went ahead and I did all the buttonholes, sewed the buttons on. My husband helped me, and then I went ahead and I had to kind of cut out my own pattern piece for the band that goes along the bottom of the breeches. I was able to make this band and then attach it to the bottom of each of the breeches legs, which goes right below the gentleman's knee, right around the calf. So I had to take the measurement of my husband's calf to make sure it was going to fit correctly. My husband has a pretty big calf, so I did not need to take in or gather the leg of the breeches at all. I assumed that if it would have been a little bit smaller, I would have needed to, but I did not. So I went ahead and I just attached the band to finish the end of the breeches. I did not have time to add the buttons that I would have needed to finish this. I ended up just using safety pins because I didn't have time, but no one could really tell, and my husband, he ended up wearing tall boots that hid the bottom of the breeches anyway when we went to the 18th century market fair at Fort Yargo, and they worked great. But of course, I will add buttons at a later date. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you'll hit subscribe and continue to watch all of our adventures. Our next adventure will be a video about us going to the Fort Yargo 18th century market fair. So please, please, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, leave a nice comment. I love getting to read all of your nice comments and see what you think about these videos. Hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.